And as always, we got our Mental Health Monday with the Wright Doctor, Dr. H. Gene Wright II. And we're going to talk about some unsung heroes and how to help them to keep going on. And we're going to take care of that in just 2 minutes, 2 seconds.
Okay, we're on commercial.
All right. Ready, Doctor?
Yeah, man.
Just as a heads up, everybody, we have it live in between the takes as well. So although we aren't physically live on our Comcast channel, Vincent still has it live on Facebook, YouTube, and all that, just so you guys are aware.
Whether it's informational writing, just how to read something that's got maps and charts and stuff and understand what it means, and also read fiction, stories, and understand the message of the story, the theme, the main idea, what the
Oh, so you unmuted me, huh? Oh, you don't want people on social media to hear me totally be like,
Just looking out for you. Just looking out for you.
All right. So
1 minute
Dr.
warning,
G,
guys.
Yeah.
most incredible thing, and I think we'll talk about this and going into the show. Oh, the anxieties involved with being a black man during this pre or post or transitional COVID period. It's incredible. I
What do
mean,
you mean?
I almost had like, an
30-second
anxiety.
warning.
Okay, well, we'll get into it. Doing
All
the
right.
show.
All right.
Yeah, for those of you on social media, yeah, see, this is the fun part of the show. When we start talking about stuff that we don't talk about because we're being politically correct for Comcast. Yeah.
Going to count you guys down from 5, stopping at 3, live in
This,
5.
this is where you
4,
hear my producer go,
3.
"You jacket!" No. Okay, so welcome back for those of you Comcast, Roku, YouTube, Facebook. This is Vince. I'm Vincent Squire. This is what you got to say. And on our Mental Health Monday, Dr. Gene, we're in a incubator of stress. I mean, maybe it's just me, but look, don't get me wrong. I make well above minimum wage. Okay. But the anxieties that I experienced just doing my Monday routine today, picking up pet food, dogs, cats, filling up the gas in my wife's car. That was $240. God, I mean, is the economy a contributor or financial wherewithal? Is that a contributor to stress in our society today?
I think it absolutely is, Vince, because it doesn't matter whether you make minimum wage or not. I think the whole challenge is, are you doing what you need to do for your health? Clearly, not having resources, funding, money, whatever you call it, is stressful regardless. And there are people who are so used to that stress that they don't even pay attention to it anymore. They have other stresses. But when you have people complaining about, what the cost of things, which is what I think you're getting at, then that takes on a whole nother level, because now you're moving beyond, the bare necessities or the basic necessities. You're taking care of your pets, as you gave an example. You're taking care of your wife's car. You're doing the basic routines, as you said.
I'm doing the man thing because, I sleep
your
with
point,
her.
right? I got you. But your point is well taken in that the simple things, the routine things, for some have become stressful. And I think it's that way, whether you're minimum wage, whether you're making a whole lot of money, or whether you're somewhere in between. Stress is stress, right? and it's individualized. Even though we try to paint with a broad stroke and say, oh, everybody's feeling this or everybody's feeling that, I think we're safe by saying that regardless of your station in life, your race, ethnicity, any of that, stress is real. And has it been exacerbated exponentially the last 2 years? Yeah, I think so. So I agree with you.
Exasperated. It's been stretched, shredded, held on by little pieces, and even the pieces that I thought I had hidden for just a special occasion, they're gone too.
They came and got him.
Yeah,
Well, this is what I know, Vince.
they came and got it. Doc. It cost me $87 to fill the tank. I'm like,
Yeah, it's interesting because I used to think, are you really going to drive across the bridge to get a cheaper price of gas when it ain't that much cheaper?
yes, I did.
I got you, man. I got you. But here's the thing that's interesting. Stress, like I was saying, is individualized, right? What the same people in your family may not be feeling the same kind of stress you're feeling. Y'all feeling different. We already talked, in one of our shows about young people. Their stress is a little different. It's still stress, but it's impacted different. So sometimes people look at others and go, wow, if you were living my life, you'd be stressed. What are you complaining about? Well, it's all relative, right?
Right.
15-year-old, 16-year-old person, their stress may not be the same as the 32-year-old person, but it's still stress, right? What you and I are dealing with may not be the same thing as what seniors are dealing with, and it's still stress. First responders, what they're dealing with. We can go on and on down the list, Vince, and the bottom line is we all have stress. The question is not whether you have stress. The question is, do you recognize that you need to take on some more health and wellness type, self-care type habits so that you can make it through? Because there's no ability to avoid stress. There is the opportunity to work through it. And I think that we all have an opportunity to do that.
Yeah. Okay. So let's look at this. We all have stress.
Yeah.
Do we unconsciously, or for some people consciously, add on to the stress of other people?
Well, it's hard to speak for other people's intentions. We can certainly look at the outcome, right? And so the easiest way to do that is look at behaviors. So we can step back as an observer and say, wow, that person A is adding stress to person B. Yeah, we can say that. Whether people go set out and say, oh, let me see if I can add stress to Vince's life, I don't know if that's the case. I think people
I believe that's the case. Because Doctor, I know some people, I think they stay up all night long trying to figure out how to add on some stress to Vincent Squire's life.
Well, see, here's what I would tell you, Vince, just because I know you.
Yeah, my sister. Yeah. I'm talking to you, my sister. I know you watch this show. I'm not talking about you, but I'm talking about you.
Okay. What I would say is don't be such an available target. So there are people who you probably know that know how to push your buttons a little bit. So I'm not going to chime in on that. You've already taken care of that. But what I will say is that we have different levels of stress. You have, moderate, you have severe, you have mild. And so when I say everybody has stress, it's not the same for everybody. It's not the same intensity. It's not the same magnitude. Sometimes stress is good. You ever heard of eustress? Right? Most people think of distress all the time.
I thrive off of that.
Yeah, but there's also stress as a result of positive things, but we mostly think of negative things. I'll give you a couple examples. You have a great show, right? Yeah, you enjoy it. Fun. You have good guests, right? But I would
be one of them. Yeah, I think you're right. That's a completely unbiased statement, Doctor.
Very unbiased. But what I would say is, it's still stressful. All the behind the scenes, people don't have any idea the behind the scenes things you got to do, right? What I do for a living. Vince, I love what I do. I've never worked a day in my life. I love what I do, but it's not without stress, right? Mm-hmm. Playing sports, great thing. Look, the NBA finals are coming up, or people are in the playoffs, right? Yeah. So even doing things you like, graduating from college, great thing, stressful. Buying a home, great thing, stressful. So there are all types of different stress, both distress and what we call the good stress or eustress. Your body doesn't know the difference. Stress is stress on the body physiologically, right? And so even when you're doing something good that is stressful to you, like preparing for that job interview, that's stressful. It's a good thing, but it's stressful.
Is there a difference in definition between Webster stress and pathological diagnosis of stress?
Well, I don't know. I would say anytime you add the pathological in front of something, it's going to be different. So
So it's more than the physical or the biochemical.
yeah, I mean, the
Uh,
Webster's is going to give you the stale. Just this is the definition of stress that everybody has agreed on over years. Whereas
mhm.
when you say pathological, I would not use that word. What I would say is toxic stress. I would say now that could lead to something pathological, but I don't want to label that broad brush using that term because pathological takes on all kind of other connotation.
It
But
does.
toxic stress is something that even your average person can relate to and understand because we all have it. Now, the question is, can we get through it? Right. So it doesn't, this is what I would say, Vince, a very simple thing for your listeners and for your viewers. Is the stress that you're experiencing keeping you from being able to do your daily activities? And so when I say that, I mean work, school for people who go to school, relationships in the community, things like that. If what you're experiencing impacts those areas of your life, we may be encroaching upon some toxic stress. Because again, most of us can work through the everyday minimum amount of stress. But if it's impacting your relationships, it's impacting your ability to work, it's impacting your ability to focus and concentrate on the things that you need to. Now it's a distraction. Now it's becoming more, more of a challenge for you.
Okay, now that is what I was thinking about. Can toxic and good stress be in the same category? Because I've experienced
Hmm.
some challenging moments that get me to rise to what I call the Michael Jordan moment,
Yeah.
where hey, look, I know it's stressful, but I've been doing this for so long, I can shoot these free throws with my eyes closed. And then
Yeah.
I've had the same category or the same person issue something that made me like, I wouldn't say lose sleep,
Hmm.
but I definitely faded out during the commercial break on my favorite TV show.
So that's a good point, Vince. And what I would say is, as I describe the differences between distress and eustress, and I like the term use, good stress or not so good stress. We're just going to keep it simple. Toxic stress is taking you to a place that is not healthy. Whereas
Okay.
the stress that you mentioned about, I live for this, at the line, shooting three throws, games on the line, 3 seconds left. Some people, that's toxic stress for some people who aren't made for the moment. For Michael Jordan, it's not. Does that
No.
make sense? And so, depending on how you're wired and who you are and how you look at it, some people can take stress that other people would look at and go, "Oh my God, that's debilitating." Whereas for that person, it's a driver. It's like, "Oh, I live for this moment. I love it." The businessman that likes closing a deal, right?
The stress of is the deal going to close?
The woman firefighter who's going into the building, and
Here,
she's
bub.
got, her equipment and she's running it. The rest of us are running the other way. But she's
Hmm.
going in there like, yeah,
Right.
this is stressful, but I live for this. This is what I train for this. I'm made for this. So that's what I mean when I say it's individual. So the toxic part of it is really about how it
Doc,
impacts you.
okay, doctor, we're going
Yeah.
to take a break because I'm getting some crazy stuff in the background. So we're going to evaluate our technical difficulties and we're going to go back into good stress, bad stress, thriving, surviving, and I'm saying overcoming. I'm Vincent Squire with my co host today, none other than the right doctor, Dr. H. Gene Wright the second. We'll be right back in 2 minutes, 2 seconds.
Okay, we're on break.
Okay, what was that in the background?
I didn't hear anything. What were
Sound
you
like a
thinking of?
dog yawning.
Sound like a big yarn. The other one was a trash can crash. The other,
Yeah. And I heard some chatter, some talk in the background too.
yeah.
I'm not picking up anything.
We're picking it all up. Is somebody on this line?
It's not in my office because I'm here by myself. So it's got to be on your end, Vince.
No, look, not even my dog, the co-host. He's not even here. I mean, my wife's doing her parent teacher conferences. I mean, this is the quietest she's ever been in months. Thank you, report card period.
Yeah, I'm muted in between shows, and I don't have anything open except for you guys.
Okay, and there's no. I'm checking online. There's just the three of us.
Just
Okay.
the three of us. Yeah.
There you go. All right. So maybe the stress is getting to us, Vince.
Yeah.
Listen,
All right, 1 minute warning.
I've dealt with more stress in my life. I mean, to me, I think the maximum stress I've ever had was being in my young 20s, jumping out of a perfectly serviceable airplane while people were shooting at me on the way down. I mean, after that, everything for me has been like, is that it? No. Let me change that. Dealing with my young adult, because a total generation gap. Okay, a total misdirection of one mindset development and growth and another. Now, I mean, my wife and I, we have worked very hard. Chaz, you can keep running the show even though we're talking, okay?
Okay, you got it.
All right. So my wife and I, and this is primarily for those people on social media, my wife and I have worked on developing, encouraging, and empowering my young daughter of color to be a threat, to be a challenge, to be empowered, and to be basically, the scourge of everyone who wants to stand in her way of what she wants to do. That being said, although we've empowered her to be so fierce,
Right.
and okay, there's that noise again. Anybody know what that is? Nope.
I'm not picking up any noise.
Okay. So, doctor, even though my wife and I have groomed her to be such a threat to society, and look, I had little silent prayers of anybody who stood in her way of what she wanted to accomplish. Never in my wildest dreams would I be the enemy of the weapon I designed. So I think in terms of stress, being a father today, being a man of color in our post-COVID and world that we're in right now, there is a level that I'm like not familiar with. Be it, and I don't take it as that stress like, oh my god, I'm losing sleep, oh my god, I can't take it anymore. I take it more as a challenge. Okay, this is what's going wrong. Let's see what we can do to make this right. Let's get everything in line and in sync to make happen. Am I going wrong with that ideology?
Well, I mean, me, Vince, I don't use terms like right, wrong, should, shouldn't, always, never. Those are absolutes. And I know they roll off our tongue so easily. I mean, in everyday conversation, we throw those words around, and it negates so much of what's real. Most of us understand that we live in the gray area. It's not either or. It's not black and white. And even though we acknowledge that, we sometimes still talk as if it is. And so what you've done and what you continue to do that works for you, no matter how much planning and you and your wife and everything that you did, I'm sure you did everything you knew to do. There's no guarantee.
So in my world, it's an absolute.
Well, yeah, but it's not necessarily gonna translate the way you think.
But in the larger scheme,
yeah,
it's a gray area. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, because the individual offspring, the child, who has got 1 foot in childhood, 1 foot in adulthood, and you're trying to usher them to adulthood as quickly as you can. I get it. Yeah. But everybody's personality is different. We don't have time on the show today, but maybe one day we can talk about parenting styles versus temperance, and the how each child is born with their own temperance, which turns into a personality over time. And what we've learned in terms of research as a developmental psychologist, which I am, is that it's easier for the authority figure, the person, the parent, to change their style as it is than it is for the
Then it
child.
is to change the child. Yes.
Right. And for the child to change their personality or their temperance. And
Okay.
so there has to be a communication, there has to be a working together. And you can't just do it once or twice here and there. And you certainly can't wait till the person's in their 20s. And so I tell parents all the time, establish a communication pattern early in life when they're 3, 4, 5, right? When they're more likely to be malleable to what you're trying to convey in terms of communication. You can't let a person grow up to be 15, all of a sudden you start putting your foot down on a 15-year-old. Just not going to happen.
Because it ain't gonna happen.
No, not going to happen.
No.
So I say all that to say, I don't know that what you did is right or wrong. I can say that it worked for you. And what we think worked for us, we want to pass on to our offspring. It's natural. This worked for me. Let me give you some of the tenets of wisdom that I've gathered over the years, right? But hey, man,
let me make your life easier, because I have just basically destroyed a lot of things to develop these pearls of wisdom to help you be better. Yeah.
But is it easier, Vince? Is it really easier? Sometimes what we've done is unintentionally, we may have made it more difficult. We made it easier.
No. I think well, actually, to be honest with you, it has been more like making an omelet. I had to break an egg to actually get through the omelet. But is it the right? I mean, look, am I going to win the parent of the year by expressing to my daughter some ultimatums in terms of her life, her lifestyle, her life choices, her direction for her life? No. And I'm not looking for that award either. But what my wife and I were looking at was that we were looking at finding some way to reach this child, to understand that no, she is to be a functioning and contributing member of society. So if we have to actually do this to get you to do that, then that's what we're going to do. And you're right. It was easier for us to change our tone and rhetoric than it was to change the child. But once we changed our tone and rhetoric, the child conformed.
Yeah. So like I said, it's
It could have saved me a whole fifth of scotch.
Yeah, I think it's a challenge, to say the least. Yeah. And the thing you have to know is that no matter what your plans, no matter how much effort you put into shaping one's offspring, they do have a mind of their own, and they're going to get there. And people do mature. Now they don't do it at the same time, And for people who have multiple children, they could be a testimony for you, and they can say, "Look, I got 3, and they were all different, right?" And so when you have one, or at least one that you're currently responsible for, if there's big age differences between them, so then it's a little different.
This is what you do if you got multiple children and they're all going through puberty and adulthood at the same time. You put your liquor store on speed dial, and you be like, "Look, no, half a gallon this time." Oh, I'm kidding, doctor. But go ahead.
No, I was just saying that the jury is still out on the development of your offspring. Right. Sometimes the light bulb comes on, Vince, and all those things that you thought that they were ignoring or wasn't picking up or didn't care about, they suddenly pick up. I mean, I was a late bloomer myself. I mean, I was always good in school and everything, but I wasn't necessarily trying to adhere to everything that my parents wanted me to adhere to. I'll put it like that. Had a little rebellious streak in me, right? But eventually, I started hearing that voice of wisdom. I was like, wait a minute. I heard that somewhere before. Oh, my father told me that.
That mother.
You know? So I guess I'm saying don't give up.
Eventually, if
Yeah,
we just, I guess what you're
everybody's
saying is
different,
that
man.
if we continue to,
Hey man, some are in their mid-20s before the light bulb goes on. And believe it or not, I don't want to wish this on you, but some folks ain't not until their 30s, man, when it actually clicks. Now I know that's a whole lot of crying and gnashing of teeth between now and 30. But the
yes,
point is, the goal is that they get it. When they get it, it'd be nice if everybody got it at 18. But that's individual differences, Vince.
okay, so let's look at performance anxiety, stress,
Okay.
and let's look at our greatest unsung heroes, because this is what we talked about. This was the teaser before the break. Our
Mhm.
greatest unsung heroes right now, it happens to be our emergency responders.
Yeah.
And doctor, look, I get the media calls for everything that happens.
Yeah.
So, and I'm on a period of hypervigilance. I know in your profession, you get the call or the text or the notifications.
Yes.
So that keeps you on a level of hypervigilance. But that's nothing compared to those who are answering the calls and going out to those locations.
Well, you're right. And that's why, in the city of Philadelphia, I can say that we work very closely with our law enforcement officers and our firefighters and EMS. And firefighters and EMS tend to go together in terms of responding to certain types of calls, whether it's a medical call, then, that's when you get your ambulance. When we were kids, we called it an ambulance, you know. But I would also like to add to that group, So yes, we all know law enforcement and firefighters, EMS. That's a no-brainer. That's what we see on TV. That's what we hear, the sirens, woo, woo, woo. But you know
Right.
what? There's some other unsung heroes that we touched on a couple weeks ago, and I'd like to add them to the list again today.
Bring them
And that
on.
is your educators, administrators, teachers. Think about what teachers have gone through the last 24 months, Vince. Oh my
Mm.
goodness. Are we doing hybrid this week? Are we doing virtual? What are we doing? How many kids have gone through the last 2 years and not received the type of instruction they normally would have if not for this pandemic? And then you have faith leaders. I know they're going through it, man, because I talk to
Oh,
them all the time.
yeah.
And they're being asked to hold up a standard and to comfort people, and they're needing comfort themselves, right? You have people who are in the trenches with the food banks, and they're the ones that are helping those who have some food insecurities or housing insecurities. You think they're not stressed? Oh man, trust me. So when I talk about this, and we had mentioned on the break about vicarious trauma, what that looks like. It means that you really are not experiencing the actual trauma yourself. You're helping people who are in experience crisis, police officers, educators, all the people we name. But because of that, you're so close to it on a regular basis because this is what you do for a living, that you, by connection, that's what that vicarious, in other words, it didn't happen to me, but because I'm helping you, I feel your pain, right? It's that empathy thing that we talked about. And you
Right.
can't do those kind of jobs and not have the heart for it, literally and figuratively, because it is so stressful and you do not always leave feeling successful. Think about if you lose someone, right? If a situation didn't turn out well, you take that home with you. And then your family, your dog, and everybody's got to deal with whatever you had to deal with, right? You try not to. Most of us
that
know
that
not
that
to do it.
stress
Yeah,
that we're feeling, and we don't deal with it
yeah.
in a proper manner,
A
so
healthy way.
we
Yeah.
stress everybody else around us.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you were joking earlier, but let me make it serious all of a sudden. You know, some people do climb into a bottle, right? Or use prescription drugs or use some other type of illegal drugs, or they
Self-medication.
use prescription drugs illegally, whatever. And
Mm.
that's real, Vince. That's and it's not a judgment. It is a fact that during the pandemic, substance use and dependence increased exponentially during the pandemic. Depression and anxiety increased exponentially. Unfortunately, suicide ideation and completing suicides increased. So this is a real issue that we're talking about.
But this
And
was
so it's appropriate for Mental Health Mondays.
but the doctor,
Yes.
those numbers didn't just spike amongst, because we've got a majority of people of color in our demographics. Those numbers did not spike just amongst European descent. I mean, they went crazy amongst the African American, Hispanic.
Yes. Well, and that's a true point, and that's why you've heard me say this before, Vince, and you talked about it on different shows. Um, that's why the misnomer when people talk about we're all in the same boat, we're all dealing with the same thing. No, that's not true.
No,
And you just pointed it out.
you, yeah,
We're in
you on
different
a
boats.
yacht and I'm on a dinghy.
Yeah, we're in different boats,
Yeah.
but it's still the same storm, and that's the thing.
Right.
People, what they really mean is we're all experiencing something that is not normal for our own individual routines, whatever that is for you, right? How you get through it. You mentioned earlier about being a minimum wage versus, having plenty of money. Well, guess what? The person with plenty of money has a different level of stress. You may say, yeah, well, they got plenty of money to get through their stress. That doesn't mean it's not impacting their health.
Mm-mm.
Stress is stress, right?
Mm-mm.
If you got a lot of money, it's stress. And if you don't have any, it's stress. Now, maybe your stress is because of the lack of money, but trust me, people who have more than you, that's why it's not healthy to look outside of yourself and compare yourself to others, because you may not want them shoes that you're looking at, right? It may look good, huh?
They may be alligator, but that's a hard mile that they walking
Hey,
in.
you may not want to walk in them shoes, right? But I think the thing that we're saying on Mental Health Monday is that we can get through it, right? We have gotten through it. We're in our third year of the pandemic, Vince, and it's not over. And people are putting on masks, taking off masks. We got the dude in Florida, the judge in Florida says nobody has to wear a mask on a plane. Guess what, man? I'm on a plane Friday. I'll be wearing my mask,
I
okay?
got two.
Because I'm sitting with a bunch of folks I ain't never met before, and they
Mhm.
coughing and gagging and doing all kind of stuff. I'm gonna have my
Mhm.
mask on. I'm just saying,
Mhm.
do what you want to do, but it's not about me, Vince. I'm also concerned about people who may have more vulnerable situations, health situations.
Right.
I was at the gym this morning on the treadmill, and this beautiful elderly lady came in, man, and I could tell that she was frail, trying to get up on the treadmill next to me. She had her mask on. I didn't have my mask on. I was on the treadmill by myself. Wasn't nobody near me. As soon as she got on that treadmill, man, I reached in my pocket and I got my mask. I'm fine. I'm vaccinated. I'm healthy. I'm strong. But I don't know what I might be carrying. So out of respect for this senior who I don't know, who got on the treadmill, now she could have got on the 3 or 4 other ones down the road, but she got on the one right next to me. Okay. Hey, I'm not going to make her walk further than she have to. My point is,
Grandma, get.
yeah, my point is that it's not just about me. I put my mask on because I was concerned about her, and I don't want to be. I want to make sure I take care of my fellow citizens with my own thing. So on the plane, it's not just about I'm scared of you. No, I ain't scared of you. I'm fine. However, I don't want to give you anything. So in this age of me, and oh, my own stress, and I'm the only one stressed. No, you're not. Everybody's stressed. We're all trying to get through it. Let's help each other where we can, as we can. And it's a simple thing. Some of the stuff we're asking of us to help each other, little reciprocity here and there, little kindness, right? Little understanding. I know there's some short-tempered folks out there, but this is not the time. This is really not the time. And so to me, we can be models, Vince, for humanity. How to treat a human like a human, regardless of race, age, ethnicity, sexual orientation, religious affiliation or not. What about being human? When did we forget how to do that, Vince? And so on this Mental Health Monday, I think that's something, man, that we should really applaud our first responders, because we forget they're human. We forget that clergy are human. We forget that school teachers are human. Nobody is in a position where they can just blow off this and say, because of my job title or whatever, my degrees and this, that, and the other, because of my money, I don't feel stressed. No. We're all human. We're in different boats. We're in this huge storm that we all are trying to navigate. And if we just remind ourselves to be human, oh man, we can accomplish a lot, I think.
I agree, because the humanity in me respects the humanity in you.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that, look, I said this a year or two ago, and I don't know if he ever remembered it, or some people acknowledge it. But I sat there during the pandemic with everybody going through the change and watched my pastor preach us through 19 to 24 months of isolation and shutdown, to the point where, it was like seeing him again was like, oh my God, it was like a dream come true. It was like the bride meeting the bridegroom at the wedding. But
Mm.
but we've lost that. Part of the isolation, we have lost the level of humanity and understanding. And it has been more about me, 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 and not about us. And
Yeah.
that's what our pastors, our clergy, our first responders,
Yeah.
and our essential workers, the people who have sacrificed their lives during a period where nobody knew what was going to keep them safe, yet they got out, put public transportation to come and put food on the shelves and toilet paper.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I would say this, Vince. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the shells because we have to add in the truck drivers and the people
Hmm.
stocking the shells because we wouldn't have had anything if it wasn't for them. But I would say
No.
this: I'm going to disagree with you only slightly in terms of the humanity piece. I
Only
think
slightly.
there's only slightly. I think there's more people who still have that humanity in them than we think. Now they don't make the headlines because only
Right.
bad news makes the headlines.
True.
When you and I were kids, they called it yellow journalism.
Right.
When
Right.
that's how they used to sell newspapers. Kids, look that up. Google newspaper, and you'll find it quite interesting.
No, no. See, you got on me for saying that last show.
I know. But now I'm saying it, so it's okay.
Okay, okay.
But no, I mean, so those of us who have not forgotten our humanity, not that we're perfect, we've had our slip ups. I mean, I've certainly, felt like, wow, you know what, I don't want to stand in another line as long as I live, right? But you got to be patient. And man, I'm gonna tell you, I've learned patience during this 24 months, Vince, because you had no
Oh
choice.
yeah.
There's no sense fighting. There's no sense getting nasty. When the flights are canceled, what am I gonna do? Scream and cuss somebody out? That
There
that
you
that
go.
helps. That helps a lot. So
Yeah.
I think those of us, and there's more of us than you think, that actually continue to respect humanity. We don't mind giving up the seat for the next person. We don't mind, hey, you know what? I'll take the next one. I've actually grown, Vince, during this time of trouble. I've
Okay.
actually grown because it's not so important that I get my way, you know. And sometimes when I see people weaving out of traffic and going through red lights to get in front of you and all this stuff, I'm like,
To get to
dude,
the next red light.
I know. I'm like, dude, is where you're going so much more important than where I'm going? But now I don't even think about that anymore. I don't even think about that
Yes.
anymore. I just relax and I'm like, well, I hope he gets there.
Gas is $4.50 a gallon. Go ahead, speed past me, fool.
Hey, I'm driving all the speed limits, Vince. Save my gas.
I'm telling you. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
But it's amazing though. We can actually be a good model, man, for each other. We can be good neighbors, right?
Mhm.
We can be good neighbors and we can protect each other, even though some of us have taken the vaccination, some of us have not. That doesn't make you a bad neighbor because you didn't, but it does if you don't want to protect yourself by putting a mask on for other people. You have personal, private decisions. I support all of that, support all of it, but
Right.
I'm going to do my part to protect you because that's my job as a human being, right?
Right.
I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm not going to tell you how to do it. But when you run into me, I owe it to you to not make you sick, right? And I don't know, just because I feel good don't mean I'm okay, right? So that's all I'm saying, Vince.
Okay. Now we're going to take a break,
Mhm.
and for those of you who keep leaving all these messages on Facebook, call in. Okay, you want to be brave? Call in. All right, and we can discuss some of that because some of those are real nonsense. But I'm Vincent Squire. This is Mental Health Monday with the Wright Doctor, Dr. H. Gene Wright II, and we'll be right back. 2 minutes, 2 seconds. Okay, Chaz, we're on break. I think I lost my producer.
Yeah, he got tired of us, man. He said, I'm out.
He's like, oh, forget this humanity stuff. No, I'm going to Walmart.
No.
Okay.
So you getting some messages, man?
Oh man, I'm getting some stupidity.
Can you not hear me?
No, we
We
ain't
can
hear
hear you now.
Okay. I didn't. I don't. You had me muted. I think I didn't realize.
Okay.
We thought
Yeah.
you was like done with us. Like, okay, I'm done with these guys.
No, 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 no,
That's it.
no, 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 no. Never done. Never done.
No, so doing my routine today. Of course, Monday, pet food's low, go get the pet food. Wife telling me, she doesn't have any gas in the car. You know what? It is the honor of my week when my wife bestows upon me the most sacred of our family traditions is that I go and put gas in her car because that's the only time I can drive her car without her in it.
Hey, count your blessings for small things.
That's what I'm saying. Hey,
1 minute.
it's a blessing. It's a blessing. So,
Oh man.
so I go up to the gas station and okay, let me express to you this. I think that my wife is the most beautiful woman that I've ever kissed. Um, um, we our anniversary is coming up. 7 years married. What was it? 16 years knowing each other. But here's the thing, and my wife can still look at me and just make the hairs on the back of my neck stand up like, ooh, she's so fine. So I go to Wawa to the gas station,
30 seconds.
and there is this woman who gets out of her uh, BMW convertible, top down. She's got the blonde hair flowing. She's got Chaz. You can just play it, okay? Whenever we start,
Okay,
okay?
I'm just gonna bring it right in.
Yeah, she's got the blonde hair flowing. You can tell wind blown because the top down in the BMW. I mean, and I'm going into the Wawa because I'm just gonna pay inside. She walks in there and she walks by me, and I mean, she's got the brand new implants. I mean, this girl smells like a brand new car. I mean, so she goes into the Wawa. And there is this older woman. I'm thinking is like her mother or her aunt. No, she says, okay, I'm getting the tank filled up, and the girl kisses the other one on the lips. I was like, okay. Who, oh, you two must know each other. She says to me, she says, oh, by the way, was that you in the truck? I was like, yeah. She says, looking kind of cute there. I'm like, yeah, well, thank you. She says, I like that tie. So I expressed to her that, my wife, you know, dress me. She picks out my clothes and all that other great stuff. She says, great. I'll tell you what. Why don't you call your wife and we can make it up and make an event happen? I was like, nah, I don't think that'll happen. but our doc, our younger generation, I mean, they're so sexually fluid and bold. I mean, like, is that something that we have done to spark that, or I mean, is that part of the empowerment process that they're going through or experiencing? I mean, what? I lost you, right? It's okay, doctor.
No, I'm trying to figure out what. So you're asking me a question about what you experienced, or you're asking me a question specifically about sexuality?
No, I'm asking the question about what I experienced. I mean, like, is
Mhm.
that? I mean, those aren't norms that generally happen to me. I mean, so I mean, is it this
Well, I would
release?
say that I would say that who you love is very much an individual choice.
Mhm.
I think what I think you're getting at is have things changed in this generation time and all that and the expression of that love and I think that's where I think you're going.
That
And
is
so,
where I'm going.
yeah, okay. And so what I would say is that one, um, I think we've always been in this country anyway. I can't speak for, I've only lived in this country, that we've been somewhat puritanistic in terms of our opinions and our judgment of others' love and our expectation and social norms that were set not by the individuals who have to live up to it, but by a patriarchal system of viewing things a certain way. And I think young people today, and not so young people today, have embraced the fact and the opportunity that nobody has a right to tell you who to love or how to love, and why it bothers so many people who don't love the way they're witnessing love. I mean, my question would be, why does it matter to you how another person expresses love, how another person love, who they love, that kind of thing? So I don't think it's an empowerment thing as much as it is a human thing. Human beings are interdependent. Human beings need each other. And how we need each other and how we express that need for each other is, like I've been saying the whole show, individual differences. And so we need to learn, as all of us in our humanity, to embrace love, period. I don't have a judgment on how you love. When you talk about your wife, man, I get smile. I'm like, wow, that is the most, uh, that's a great thing. I don't know if everybody can say the same thing about their partner, and you are truly are sincere about it. And so why shouldn't everybody have that, regardless of race, gender, ethnicity, age, right? Love is love. And everyone deserves a partner, and everyone deserves to not go through this life alone, because human beings need each other. And we don't just need partners, we actually need each other in many aspects. That's why sometimes one person can't be the end all be all to your one person. And so we have friends, we have acquaintances, we have bosses, we have all kind of relationships, right?
Because they fill in the gaps of what's missing
Yeah.
in the other.
But when you find that one person, as you described your wife, which is so beautiful, everybody should have that, their version of it, whatever that is. It may not be your version of it, but the fact that you described it and you had a smile on your face and there was energy in your tone, man, it's like, wow, everybody should have that. And then we can't afford as a society to look at other people's expression of love with disdain or with some type of judgment.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the judgment for me is, wow, that's beautiful. Somebody said that there's someone for everyone. Well, I think there's some folks who might disagree with that, because they're looking and they haven't found that one. And so they might like, well, I don't know if that applies to me. And that's so sad. Because
Maybe it's where they're looking too. Yeah, that's
Well,
a whole nother
a
show.
whole different thing. But to kind of wrap this up in terms of my opinion on it, I have learned over the years to appreciate the simple expression of love, regardless of the source and regardless of what it looks like. And it doesn't have to look like mine. And it doesn't have to look like my parents. And it doesn't have to look like my friend. The way it looks is beautiful because it shows that human beings can connect on so many levels. And why can't we appreciate and respect the variety and the diversity of humanity in how we love, right? I think that's why people like animals and people like pets, because there's no judgment. Right? I mean, you're out there buying $200 some worth of dog food and cat food because you love your pets. Well, guess what? They love you unconditionally. And sometimes we humans, we put conditions on our love.
And my pets are so non-judgmental.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
They don't care how I fix the dog food.
That's why some people would rather have pets than to have humans. And I understand that. But I think the other thing, instead of writing off all humans, we need to be better. We need to be better, because we have such a short time on this earth. If you think about it, how much time we actually live on this earth. Why would you spend any time being bitter or being judgmental about somebody else's life? Right. And so I think there is a way for us to move forward, and you don't have to live like me. You don't have to love like me, but I certainly want to respect and acknowledge that the way I do it is not the only way to do it. The way I like it, the way I appreciate it, is not the only way. And I think that again is just one semblance of it's not always about me. Whether we're talking about health and wellness, whether we're talking about vaccinations, whether we're talking about first responders, Mental Health Monday for me is applauding the diversity of all of us. And if I had to sum it up in one word, Vince, I'd say love. That's the one thing that's going to get us through this thing. It's what's gotten us through so far. And we're not all on the same page with how we love. We're not all on the same page with what solutions and coping mechanisms and coping skills that we have. And sometimes we live up to them and sometimes we don't. That's what makes us human as well. But let's applaud each other, and let's applaud each other in love.
Have we pushed aside or suppressed or even muzzled love?
I don't think so. I think sometimes it appears, again, like the squeaky wheel gets the oil. Remember that old saying the old folks used to say? Sometimes what we read in the headlines and what we see in news bites and what we, see on our phone, we think that's everybody. And it's just not. They have a platform. They have a mechanism into our life because we're looking at these things all the time. We pick these things up and we're looking at it, right? Especially young people, man. I think about how easily they're influenced by social media, right? They think that's how they're supposed to be. And they don't even realize that people that are putting that stuff out there may not be that way.
How about that?
They're trying to use you for something. So
Right.
I don't think we've pushed love aside, Vince. I think we've not appreciated the simplicity of it. It's not always romantic. It's not always, what we see in the movies. Right?
No, because hey, believe me, this wonderful, refined specimen of a human being that you see before you, it has taken my wife some time to get me to this level. I mean,
Okay, so you're giving her credit.
Yeah, you talked about why she'd be like, yes, child, I've been suffering. but, but, but no, I mean, love is not the big romanticized,
It
minute
can
and
be.
47
Yeah, it can be.
hour and 47 minutes of
Yeah.
of media. No,
No.
but I mean, it can be.
Yeah.
But yet, love has a level of toughness. It has a level of understanding. It has a
Accountability.
level correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Accepting all, being all, doing all. It has a level of looking over, understanding, and working through.
And it doesn't always have to be someone who you know or someone who you think you are obligated to or owe something to. When I speak
Mhm.
of humanity and love, in the sense that what's going to get us through that, we're in year 3 of the pandemic. What's going to get us through? I'm speaking of that agape, love. I'm speaking of that love that says, you know what, we may not agree on everything, but I
Right.
respect you. Right?
So it's not the filios or the eros.
No, and there's a place for all of that. And
Right.
that's why I say every human being deserves all
Love.
levels of love, all
Right.
levels, right? And so I think about our seniors who, oftentimes spend a lot of time alone,
Hmm.
and, if they don't have family or if family live far away, whatever the situation is, that's where faith communities a lot of times come in, or young people, especially with AARP. They get volunteers, young people to come and go visit or adopt a grandparent. Maybe you lost your grandparents or something. Well, through AARP, believe it or not, they actually have a program where seniors can adopt kids as grandkids and vice versa.
Hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So the senior gets to be active and have influence on a young person, and the young person gets a chance to be connected to some wise seniors. So
Okay. So does the simple fact of love, has that been the driving factor that has gotten our pastors to get out there every Sunday, on Zoom or Facebook to preach to their congregation? Has that been the driving motivator to get police officers to go and do a thankless job, or teachers to try to find a way to reach these children even though they're not there in their presence? Or even the simple fact of families and during this pandemic, instead of families separating, but they've gotten stronger. Would you attribute that to love?
they may not call it that, and certainly I can't speak for all firefighters, law enforcement, or clergy. So I think commitment is a word that I feel comfortable painting with a broad brush. I think
Mhm.
compassion is a word, because again, everybody's definition of love is a little different. And so I
Hmm.
don't know if police officers are out there going, I'm doing my job because I love these people. I don't know if that's the case. I think they are committed. I think
Or have a love where they want to save humanity.
I think that's fair. And I think
Mm-hmm.
they have a love for their particular job at their particular thing. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I watch a lot of, crime, shows and all that because of what I do. It's interesting to me. I know some of the behind the scenes things. I can peek behind the curtain. And so I can see what's real on TV and what isn't when I watch some of those shows. And I can tell you, man, that a lot of the police that I've worked with and other folks, it's a thankless job, and yet they love it, right? And we could name a lot of other careers that probably none of us would want to do, but people
Parenting,
do
teaching.
it because they love it, right? So I know that's kind of skipping around your question, but I would say that there are multiple definitions and adjectives of love and other things that and reasons people that do what they do. But I think, yeah, commitment is a big one, Vince. I think a lot of the folks that we call first responders they have a compassion for society. I think you said it best, but I also think they're committed and they love what they do, even though it's dangerous, even though sometimes it's thankless, even though you don't get a lot of awards and pats on the back all the time. They still show up every day because it's what they do. It's who they are. And boy, I tell you, I'm glad we have them.
Yeah. So is that commitment? It has that because I talk to a lot of people. um, but what I find out is that there are certain, and we talk about the boat, and we talk about the different boats. Now, some people are in a dinghy, yeah. Some people are in a rowboat or a canoe, and some people are on a inner tube. At the start of the pandemic, but some people have went from that position from surviving to now thriving.
Yeah.
Is that the commitment piece that actually got them there, or
Well, I think there are certain things that happen because of need. And
Mhm.
if we only look at the pandemic as what we lost or what we couldn't do, the
Mhm.
isolation piece, I think you mentioned, where we couldn't go, I think we lose the value in some of those stressful experiences that we talked about that are character building. Now, none
Right.
of us would wish this on anybody, but because you didn't have control of it, then it makes sense that as you find your way and pick yourself up and get through whatever it is, at some point, we all have to say, well, I still got to put a foot in front of the other because I'm still alive,
Mm.
regardless of my losses, regardless of the challenges. And so that thriving, Vince, comes about because you made it through. If you
Okay.
don't get stuck in your losses, and again, people grieve differently, you're at different levels. But if you can at some point say, okay, I have to face the fact that I've had some losses, painful losses. Some people lost more than others. They lost people. Some people lost jobs. Other people lost other types of resources. And the list goes on and on and on.
Right.
Yeah, Vince, I think that thriving, there's something in us as human beings that makes us different than all other mammals, right? That says, even when I'm on the trash heap, when the burning coals are still burning around me, embers, I'm going to rise up. We did it
Right.
during 9/11, some 20 some years ago, right? And we can do it now, and we're doing it now. And you hit on it. There are people who developed apps that are helping people through crisis. There are people who develop ways of delivering food that we didn't have before. There are people who are able to work from home that didn't know you could work from home, and now people are like, hey, this makes sense. There's flexibility. I actually can spend more time with my family. So there are some things that we didn't plan for that ended up working out for us in the middle of a tragedy called a pandemic.
Mm. What is that pathological term called where you've experienced something and it doesn't destroy you, but it empowers you to help others get through it?
What kind of term is it?
I forgot.
I don't think it's a pathological term. Uh,
Okay.
I think what you're saying is some people call it resilience. The ability to go through a lot of different things,
Hmm.
make it through, to recover,
Mm-hmm.
and be self-determined. And that's where that thriving comes in.
Self-determination. That was what I was looking
So
for.
yeah,
Yep.
so if you
Yeah.
put those three together, resilience, recovery, and self-determination, that's
Yeah.
sort of the mantra of what we try to do in the work that I do, is giving people the opportunity to recover. We
Mm-hmm.
all are in recovery from something. Even before the pandemic, we were all in recovery from something, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
divorce or empty nest syndrome or
Okay.
losses, those things.
Real quick, Doctor.
Yeah,
For
man.
those of you on Comcast,
Yeah.
we're going to sign off. I
Okay.
love you, but if you can go to, if you want to see the last couple of minutes, because we're going to wrap up with Dr. Wright here, you want to see the last minutes, go to What You Gotta Say, YouTube, Roku, and Facebook. And you can check out the last couple of minutes of this session. God bless you on Comcast. See you. Go ahead, Doctor.
Yeah. So I think those are things that we can offer people because we all need help, right? We're all recovery. I think that's the other thing that we've learned is that it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to not be okay, right? And I think
Right.
that we have reduced slightly. We have work to do, but we've reduced the stigma associated with mental illness. We've reduced the stigma of individuals who have different challenges and are differently challenged,
Right.
and support. And
Because you have a mental illness now doesn't mean that you won't get better.
right, recovery is possible and it
Mhm.
happens all the time, but people still need tools, people need support, and they need an understanding public that doesn't judge and that doesn't dismiss
Like
because,
people
you know,
judge love that's differently from theirs.
yeah, I think any type of judgment, Vince, ends up being hurtful.
Right.
Anytime you're putting your template of what is right and wrong on somebody else's life, it usually turns out poorly. you know so I think that what we should do as humans in our humanity is get our own house in order, right? Let's spend some time making sure that you put your mask on before you assist someone else, right? Isn't that what they say when you're on the plane? So
Mhm.
yeah, we need to get ourselves together as best we can so that we can be of use to each other, because my day may be not so good, and I can lean on Vince. And there may be a day down the road where, Vince is struggling, but guess what? He's helped me so much that I'm strong now. I can help Vince. You know,
I got you on speed dial, Doctor. I mean,
yeah, yeah, man.
Doctor, I'm about to do something
Yeah,
stupid.
don't do it. Don't do it, Vince. Don't do it. But no, man, this is healthy. This is what Mental Health Mondays is about. It's about reminding each other of our humanity and that we need to embrace the challenges, not run from them. They're going to be there, right? Trying to avoid stress and struggle is a lesson in futility. We need to embrace,
Because it's going to happen, right?
yes. And
Okay.
we need to, you know what I'm going to say next, Vince? We need to find strength in our struggle.
And our struggles. Yes.
Find
By the
strength.
way, how is that book sale going? I mean, I really loved it, and I'm still waiting for my autographed copy.
And you can get that anytime. You just got to shoot me a text before our next lunch, and I'll bring it to you. Put it in your hand, because I'm at that age where you got to remind me of stuff, man. You want it to happen.
Wait a minute. Can you remind me to remind you? Because
That's fair enough. Fair enough.
I mean, I see my wife going by and I forget her name. Like, hey, you, yeah, you come here. Look mighty cute in them jeans, girl. Come on. But okay, so Mental Health Monday, Dr. Gene Wright.
Yes.
Listen, uh, do you take clients in counseling or anything like that?
I do not right now. I had to cut it off a little bit. I have too many, and so I'm only one person, and Vince, I do a lot of things.
Yes.
But fortunately, I have a very robust network of people that I trust that I can refer people to if I do not have a slot open. You can still reach out to me because I can still connect people to services of people who I know are reputable, people who are credible, and who know what they're doing. So
Okay,
yeah,
so how can they reach you?
you can go to my website, www.drhgene.com. That's HJEAN.com. And you can also pick up the book there, Find Strength in Your Struggle, or you can go to Amazon.com for the book. And you can leave me a message, Ask Dr. Gene or Ask Dr. H. Gene, There's also a phone number on the website that you can call and leave me a message. So there's all kind of ways to reach me, but the quickest and easiest for all those is to go to the website.
All right. Final words, Dr. Gene?
Yes, my final word is let's be kind to one another. It really does cost a lot less than hate and anger. And it's less stressful on us when we are loving, when we are kind, and you'll feel better about it. And so will the people that interact with you.
Mm. You know, I love Mental Health Mondays. I mean, not because it's my personal therapy session, but it is, but because of the wealth of knowledge that Dr. Gene has and getting me to admit to what I've already known or what I really know and know what's right to do. And I take away a lot, especially with today. First and foremost is that we have been so wrapped in ourselves in the last 24 months of isolation, COVID, misinformation, disinformation, that a lot of us have forgotten about others, empathy, understanding another person, or putting yourself in their shoes. As they say, you can't judge a man until you walked a mile in his moccasins. And for some of us, we haven't even taken a step, but we have judged him. The other thing that I get from this, most of all, is that we owe a great deal of gratitude for our unsung heroes that you don't see on the news, our clergy, our seniors, our senior care workers, our truck drivers, our store chain, and people in like local stores like Walmart who keep the shelves filled and answer all of our questions. We owe a great deal of thanks to our police, our firemen, our first responders. Those who, when trouble is going on and shooting is going on and buildings are caught on fire, they don't run away, they run to it. We owe a great deal of thanks to our humanities people, our psychiatrists, our counselors, our social workers who tell us that it's okay if you're not okay and express to us that what we are feeling is natural, but what makes it bad is how we react to it. We owe a great deal of thanks to our family who have loved on us, loved through us, and reached out to us through, during, and after this pandemic. But most of all, one of the greatest things that he said is we owe a great deal of thanks to love and remembering what that feels like. I'm going to paraphrase the Bible, where it says that, if I could speak with tongues of angels, it would still be like sounding gongs if I don't have love. Love forgives all, knows all, does all. It does not count the wrongs, but yet rejoices in the right. And most important, love never fails. We've seen so much violence through this pandemic, so many shootings, so much domestic violence, so much, oh God, hatred and anger. Can anyone stand up right now on the side of love? And can anybody judge you for doing that? I'm Vincent Squire. Stay tuned tomorrow where we have the three wise ones. If it's God's will, I'll be with you to discuss the issues of our life. God bless everyone. Peace.
Okay, we're out.
All